I'm Sophia Miller, 29, a marketing consultant who used to believe that love was something you could build like a brand. If you just worked hard enough, stayed patient enough, polished every imperfection until it shined. That belief shattered one Saturday night over a bottle of wine and a plate of overpriced steak. It was supposed to be fun. Just a double date, me and my fiancé, Ethan Cole, and my college friend Lena with her boyfriend Aaron. We'd been meaning to catch up for weeks, and when Lena suggested the new steakhouse downtown, I thought it was a good idea. Ethan loved fancy dinners, loved being the center of attention. And I loved keeping the peace. The first hour was easy. Polished laughter, polished silverware. Ethan told one of his networking stories, something about closing a deal with a client over a golf game. And Lena laughed too hard, the way people do when they want to stay in his good graces. Aaron was quieter, the kind of man who listened before he spoke. I remember thinking that was rare. Then, over dessert, it happened. Lena mentioned some celebrity she thought was gorgeous. Aaron joked back, and everyone laughed. Then Ethan leaned forward, grinning like he'd been waiting for his moment. "Oh, that's easy," he said, loud enough for the next table to hear. "If I ever met Scarlett Johansson, I'd drop Sophia on the spot." The laughter that followed didn't sound human. It was sharp, metallic, echoing off the glasses and the marble walls. Lena clapped a hand over her mouth, laughing so hard she snorted. "Ethan, stop! You're awful!" But she wasn't stopping him. She was egging him on. Ethan pointed his fork at me like he was giving a TED Talk. "Come on, babe, admit it. That's a fair trade-up." My heart didn't break in some cinematic slow motion. It just folded in on itself. The kind of quiet collapse you can't show because everyone's watching. I smiled, that reflexive PR-trained smile, and took a sip of wine that burned like acid. Aaron was the first to speak. "You think that's funny?" His tone wasn't angry, just disappointed, like a teacher catching a kid lying. "What? It's a joke, man. Relax," Ethan said, still smirking. Aaron set his fork down. "It's not a joke when it's at your partner's expense. It's disrespectful." The table went silent. You could hear the faint music from the bar, the scrape of cutlery 2 tables over. Lena looked at Aaron like he'd just ruined the night. Ethan looked at him like he couldn't believe someone had called him out. And me? I sat there, staring at the reflection of the candlelight on my wine glass. Because the worst part wasn't what he said. It was how comfortable he was saying it, like the idea of trading me in was casual dinner conversation. I don't know how long we sat like that. Long enough for the tension to curdle the air. Finally, I placed my napkin on the table, took out my card, and told the waiter to put the bill on me. Ethan blinked. "Soph, you don't have to—" "I insist," I said softly. My voice didn't even shake. That scared me a little. I stood, smoothed my dress, and looked at Aaron. "You and Lena need a ride home?" Ethan stared at me like I'd spoken another language. "No, we'll call a car," Aaron said, his voice calm. He met my eyes, just for a second, and there was something like understanding there, not pity, solidarity. The car ride home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Ethan kept trying to start an argument. "Are you seriously mad? It was a joke. Everyone laughed." I stared out the window. The streetlights blurred into thin gold lines. "Come on, Soph, you're overreacting. You know I love you." "Do you?" I said quietly. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "Of course I do. You're being dramatic." "Okay." That one word, flat and empty, ended the conversation. When we pulled up to his apartment, he still hadn't officially moved into mine, a detail that suddenly felt like a blessing. I parked without saying a word. "Are you really going to ignore me all night?" he demanded. "I'm tired. We'll talk tomorrow." "About what? You and Aaron acting like saints? It was a joke." "Okay." He exhaled sharply, muttered something under his breath, and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the mirror. I didn't watch him walk away. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady the tremor in my hands. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. The kind that only comes when you realize someone you love sees you as replaceable. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey, it's Aaron. Sorry about tonight. You didn't deserve that. Lena shouldn't have laughed either. Hope you're okay." I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I typed back. "Thanks. You were the only one who said what needed to be said." He replied instantly. "If you ever want to talk, I'm around. No pressure. Just someone who gets it." I didn't respond right away. I sat there in the glow of my dashboard lights, the sound of rain starting to tap against the windshield. The city felt heavier than usual, quieter. I finally typed back, maybe tomorrow, somewhere quiet. When I hit send, I didn't realize it yet, but that was the night my engagement ended. Not with a fight, not with tears, with silence. The kind that breaks before it heals. The cafe I chose the next afternoon was the opposite of the steakhouse. No marble, no mirrors, no place for performances. Just scratched wood tables, a bell that chimed when the door opened, and the kind of dim afternoon light that makes truth feel safer. I got there early, ordered a black coffee I barely touched, and rehearsed the lie I'd been telling myself for months. It was a joke. He didn't mean it. I'm overreacting. When Aaron Hale walked in, he looked like he hadn't slept. There was paint on his knuckles and a faint nick along his thumb, the kind you get from working with your hands. Contractor, I remembered from dinner. The kind of job that builds things that exist even when the lights go out. Hey, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. No hug, no awkwardness, just a steady presence. Thanks for meeting. Thanks for texting, I said. Most people would have pretended last night didn't happen. He huffed a laugh. It happened. For a minute, we let the quiet sit between us, thick but not uncomfortable. Outside, traffic hissed on wet pavement. Inside, a barista ground beans like a heartbeat. I'm not sure where to start, I admitted. Start with the truth, he said. It's easier to keep track of. So I did. I told him about Ethan Cole, about how he dazzled everyone when we met, how he made me feel chosen, like he'd reached into a crowded room and pointed, you. How the little jabs had started as playful and turned into a pattern, always landing just hard enough to bruise. About the pressure for bigger vacations, better reservations, the way our future felt like a campaign I was expected to fund and manage. Aaron listened the way the ocean listens to the shore, absorbing without judgment. When I finished, he nodded once, like a craftsman inspecting a hairline crack and finding the fault line underneath. My story's not that different, he said. Lena likes beautiful things. I used to like buying them for her. Then it stopped feeling like generosity and started feeling like dues. He rubbed his thumb over that nick. I co-signed her lease when she said it would be temporary. That was 11 months ago. She jokes online that I'm her sponsor. I think she believes it. I thought of the way Lena had laughed at the table, oxygen feeding a fire. I thought of the glance she gave Ethan when he said, trade up, the little approving smile. I used to think we were friends. What you said last night, I murmured. It's not a joke when it's at your partner's expense. That stuck with me. Shouldn't have to be said, he replied, but here we are. The bell on the door chimed. A couple came in hand, trading private smiles. I felt a strange grief for the girl I'd been before dessert. Soft, hopeful, easily impressed by the idea of us. What do I do? I asked. He didn't offer platitudes. He didn't tell me to forgive or fight. He just took a breath and said, you stop giving him the power to embarrass you. You stop paying for it. I flinched at how simple that sounded, maybe because it was. Last night, Aaron continued, the way he said it, loud, casual, like your feelings were part of the entertainment. I've seen that before. It doesn't stop unless it costs them. Costs them what? Comfort, he met my eyes. Access. I stared at my untouched coffee. I gave Ethan a supplementary card, I confessed. It made life easier. He said it did anyway. Then life's about to get harder, Aaron said gently. It should have felt vindictive. It didn't. It felt like locking your door after realizing the wind wasn't what kept it open. We talked for 3 hours. It felt like 15 minutes. Somewhere between my second and third non-sips of coffee, we realized we were tracing parallel lines. Entitlement disguised as charm. Disrespect sold as humor. The pattern was so plain, it was almost insulting. I'm not interested in revenge, I said finally. I don't want to waste my life teaching a man manners. Good, Aaron said. Neither am I. I don't want a scene. I want a lesson that sticks whether I'm in the room or not. The plan wrote itself, simple as a to-do list. Financial decoupling. I would cancel Ethan's supplementary card and restrict any access he had to accounts tied to wedding expenses. I would also call my jeweler and put a hold on the ring's transfer certificate, just in case he got ideas about pawning his contribution to the future. Housing reality. Aaron would email the property manager today and make it clear he would not co-sign Lena's lease renewal next month. No theatrics, no warnings, just a date after which he wouldn't be financially responsible for a life she'd curated on his name. Narrative control. When the spin started, and we knew it would, we'd keep our messages clean, factual, impossible to twist. No name calling, no leaked screenshots. Just the truth, stated once. And after that, I asked? After that, he said, we let consequences do the speaking. I took out my phone and stared at the bank app like it was a detonator. My hands didn't shake this time. I scrolled to the card management menu, found Ethan Cole, authorized user, and pressed remove. A confirmation window popped up, asking me if I was sure. I felt the answer settle through me like a stone into water. I pressed confirm. It was almost funny how quiet the world stayed. No alarm, no cosmic siren, just a small icon disappearing and, with it, an open door closing in my chest. Done, I said. Aaron exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for me. Okay. He pulled out his laptop, opened his email, and drafted a message to the property management company. He didn't ask my permission or my approval. He didn't need to. It wasn't about collaboration. It was about accountability. The subject line was boring in its precision. Subject, non-renewal. Co-signer, acknowledgement, Unit 5C. Body, hello. Please accept this as written confirmation that I, Aaron Hale, will not be co-signing a renewal of the lease for Unit 5C upon its expiration on date. My financial responsibility for the unit will end on the lease end date per the existing contract. Thank you. Send it, I said. He clicked. There was that bell again, soft, decisive. Ring? He asked. I nodded, dialed my jeweler, and asked to put a hold on any paperwork transferring ownership or resizing. No, there's no issue, I lied politely. We're just making sure everything is documented before the wedding. My voice didn't waver on the last word, but my heart did. When I hung up, Aaron was watching me with the careful respect of someone witnessing a private ceremony. How do you feel? He asked. Like I've been walking on a moving walkway and just stepped off, I said. I didn't realize how hard the ground was. He smiled, small, a little sad. Solid, though. We split a slice of stale lemon loaf neither of us wanted. Outside, the rain eased. Somewhere in the lull, something settled in me, an alignment I hadn't felt in months. I wasn't angry, not exactly. I was awake. We didn't talk about what happens if they come back with apologies, I said. They will, he replied. They'll call it a misunderstanding. They'll say you're ruining everything over a joke. They'll cry about the timing, the deposits, their parents, their image. And we say, we heard the joke, we understood it the first time. He tilted his head. And we say no. I nodded. The word felt new in my mouth. Clean. He checked his watch. I've got a renovation walkthrough at 4. You'll be okay? Yes, I hesitated. Thank you for not making me feel crazy. You're not, he said. You just stopped paying for it. He stood, slid a business card across the table, edges slightly bent like it had been in real pockets. Hale Restorations. I tucked it into my wallet like something more than paper. At the door, he paused. Sophia? Yeah? Last night wasn't the moment you lost him, he said. It was the moment you found you. After he left, I sat there long enough for the barista to ask if I needed anything else. I didn't. I needed less. On the walk back to my car, my phone lit up. Ethan calling. I let it go to voicemail. A text came a second later. Ethan. Hey, babe. Weird thing. My card got declined at Lululemon. Bank glitch? Can you fix it? Also, DJ texted about the deposit. Can you send him the balance today? I typed, erased, typed again. Kept it simple. Me. The card is canceled. We'll talk later. 3 dots, then Ethan. What? Why would you do that? This is insane. You're being dramatic, Sophia. Ethan. Also, don't forget you still need to Venmo Lena for the bachelorette spa deposit. The audacity made me laugh. An actual laugh, startling in its brightness. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. 2 hours later, Lena posted an Instagram story, an espresso martini swirling under pink neon. When men throw tantrums, girls upgrade. A hollow roar of comments followed from the usual chorus. I watched it once and closed the app. The noise was so loud I could hear the emptiness inside it. At dusk, I texted Aaron. Me, card removed, ring on hold. Your side? His reply came with a photo of a sent email and a short line. Aaron. Lease clock started. 2 weeks. Aaron. P.S. Don't let the noise talk you out of your clarity. I stood at my window as the city traded its gray for gold. Somewhere out there, plans were being made that had nothing to do with me. Dinners, deals, jokes. But in my small, quiet apartment, a different kind of plan took shape, sharper than the skyline. I wrote 3 sentences on a sticky note and pressed it to the fridge. I don't fund my own disrespect. I don't argue with stories told for an audience. I don't invite what I'm not willing to allow. I didn't know it yet, not fully, but those 3 lines were the blueprint for the night Ethan would arrive at a door, guarded by 2 men with a list, and find his name missing. The future clicked into place like a lock catching. 2 days of silence. That's how long it took before Ethan cracked. For 48 hours, there was nothing. No calls, no texts, not even the sound of his car in my driveway. I'd half expected him to show up unannounced, half hoped he wouldn't. But on the second morning, my phone buzzed at 8:12 a.m. Ethan, my card got declined at the gym. Did you cancel it? Ethan, babe, this isn't funny. I was buying a protein subscription. Call me. I stared at the screen while brushing my teeth. There was no sting this time, only a hollow amusement. I typed back 3 words. Me, I canceled it. The typing bubbles appeared instantly, furious and fast. Ethan, why? Ethan, you're overreacting. It was a joke. Ethan, you're seriously going to blow up our engagement over this? I set the phone down, rinsed my mouth, and let it buzz itself into silence. Somewhere between the mint and the mirror, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was just finished. 10 minutes later, another text came. Ethan, don't forget the cake tasting at 3. We already paid half. I almost laughed. We. That word had never felt so misused. By noon, Aaron called. His tone was calm, almost cheerful. Morning, he said. You might want to sit down. Oh God, I said. What happened? Lena called me from her boutique. Apparently, the management company slipped a renewal notice under her door, except now it says lease expiring in 2 weeks. She thought it was a mistake. And it's not. Not at all. She's furious. Said I ambushed her. I could hear him smiling through the phone. She told me she couldn't afford the place without me, he continued. I said, that's the point, Lena. You shouldn't live in something you can't afford, especially if the relationship it's built on is just for show. I laughed softly. That must have gone over well. Let's just say I hung up before she found the words she really wanted to use. We were quiet for a moment, both listening to the quiet crackle of shared satisfaction. Not joy, something colder, sharper. Justice with a pulse. By late afternoon, the panic had evolved into a full-scale meltdown. Ethan called 4 times in a row. When I didn't pick up, he switched tactics. Ethan, I just tried to pay for the DJ. Declined again. You're being immature. Ethan, the wedding's in 6 months. Ethan, you can't just cancel things because you're mad. Ethan, are you even thinking about all the people counting on us? I finally replied. Me. I heard the joke you made. I'm taking it seriously. Me. I'm not funding something that depends on chance celebrity encounters. 5 minutes of silence. Then, Ethan, that was a joke, Sophia. You're embarrassing yourself. Me. Maybe. But at least I'm not embarrassing my partner at dinner. This time he didn't respond. That night, I called Aaron again. We met at the same cafe, but the energy was different now. The air lighter, the exhaustion replaced by something almost playful. He ordered a beer this time instead of coffee. I'll drink to poetic symmetry, he said, raising his glass. I sipped water and smiled. So what's next? We just watch? More or less, Kane, he said. You know how people like that operate? They panic first, then perform. Wait for it. He wasn't wrong. By the next morning, Lena had taken to Instagram. A carousel post, perfectly filtered. The caption read, "Sometimes people forget who helped them shine, but don't worry, karma doesn't." The last photo was her holding a cocktail, middle finger half raised behind the rim of her glass. The comments were full of heart emojis and "you got this babe" affirmations. Ethan wasn't far behind. He updated his profile picture to one of him in sunglasses, leaning against his car with the caption, "Solo season." If humiliation could sparkle, theirs would have been glittering. I sent the screenshots to Aaron with one line. Me. You were right. They're performing. His reply? Aaron. Let them. Every show needs an ending. By day 3, the reality of their solo season began to bite. Ethan called again, this time not angry, just deflated. Look, he started, I get it. You're upset, but this is extreme. The venue deposit, the caterers, These are your contacts, your payments. You can't just pull the plug. I haven't canceled the venue, I said evenly. He paused. What does that mean? Exactly what it sounds like. The venue's still booked. The date's still the same. So, we're still on. I didn't say that. You're not making any sense, Sophia. I'm making perfect sense, I said. You treated me like an option. I'm giving you the same courtesy. He exhaled sharply. You're unbelievable. I learned from the best, I said, and hung up. For the first time in months, I didn't cry after a fight. I didn't shake. I felt clear. 2 nights later, Aaron and I met again, this time in the park overlooking the river. The city lights shimmered on the surface like melted glass. They're coordinating, he said, handing me his phone. Texts from Lena filled the screen, messages alternating between guilt and fury. Lena, you can't do this to me. Lena. I already told my parents we were renewing. Lena. Don't you care how this looks? Lena. Everyone's going to think you're broke. He shrugged. She's not wrong. They'll definitely think that, until they see what comes next. What is next? I asked. Phase 2, he said simply. I frowned. You're serious? As a heart attack. He outlined it while the wind tangled my hair and the city hummed below us. The plan wasn't about revenge. Not anymore. It was about exposure, not to humiliate, but to illuminate the truth they'd been hiding behind filters and fake laughter. We wouldn't cancel the wedding venue. We'd keep it. We'd keep the date, the catering, the invitations. But the event wouldn't be a wedding. It would be something else entirely. Aaron grinned. We'll call it the trade-up gala. I blinked. You're joking. He shook his head. You said you wanted them to learn something. Lessons don't stick unless they sting. I thought about it all night. The irony, the risk, the poetic elegance. By morning, I'd already emailed the graphic designer we used for our save the dates. Hey, can we update the event title and message for a charity gala? Same date, same venue, new purpose. The reply came an hour later. Absolutely. What's the new name? I typed it slowly, each letter a heartbeat. The Trade-Up Opportunity Gala. An evening celebrating loyalty, respect, and the courage to walk away from bad deals. When I sent it, I felt the same rush I used to feel signing big contracts at work. That quiet, precise satisfaction of something finally clicking into place. That afternoon, Ethan texted again. Ethan, just spoke to the caterer. Why did they ask if I wanted the handshake sculpture or the intertwined hearts? Ethan, what's going on? I smiled. The first ripple of foreshadowing had reached him. Me, you'll see soon. Ethan, Sophia, don't play games. Me, who said it's a game? I turned my phone face down and went back to work. Across town, Aaron texted. Aaron, the dominoes are starting to tilt. They were. By the time the invitations were printed, I had already rehearsed every possible outcome. Panic, fury, denial. But nothing prepared me for the sound of Ethan's voice when he finally saw one. The gold-foiled envelope landed in his mailbox on a Thursday morning, same time as everyone else's. That afternoon, my phone lit up in the middle of a client meeting. 12 missed calls, then a picture. The invitation, torn in half, lying on what looked like his kitchen counter. Ethan, are you out of your mind? Ethan, this is supposed to be our wedding. Ethan, you're humiliating me. I stared at the texts for a long time before responding. Me, I told you the date was still on. Me, you never asked what for. He didn't reply. The weeks leading up to the gala were a blur of delicious chaos. Word spread faster than we could have dreamed. Our mutual friends, half shocked, half entertained, shared the invitation across every group chat. The headline gleamed in metallic ink. The first annual Trade-Up Opportunity Gala, hosted by Sophia Miller and Aaron Hale. An evening celebrating loyalty, respect, and the courage to walk away from bad deals. Below it, all proceeds donated to Big Brothers Big Sisters Foundation. Some called it savage, some called it genius, most called to RSVP. Lena posted a meltdown on Instagram stories the next day. When people twist private pain into public stunts, remember, it says more about them than you. Her followers flooded the comments with fire emojis, thinking it was some vague motivational quote. Ethan took the quieter route, deleted half his social media, then started texting mutual friends in a panic. The messages leaked back to me, of course. They always do. Ethan, she's lost it. She's trying to ruin me. Ethan, you know how dramatic she can be. The best part? Nobody sided with him. Not after the dinner story got out. Aaron's version, concise, factual, brutal in its honesty, had already made its rounds. The night of the gala, I stood in front of the mirror, pinning my hair up with calm, deliberate hands. No white gown, no veil, just a black satin dress that looked like a secret. My reflection met my eyes, steady, quiet, almost unrecognizable. I wasn't a bride anymore. I was the author of my own ending. At the venue, the transformation was complete. The ballroom that was meant for a wedding now shimmered in candlelight and silver accents. The string quartet played a slower, darker arrangement of what would have been our first dance song. Guests arrived laughing, curious, whispering behind champagne flutes. Every one of them carried the same expression, half disbelief, half admiration. Aaron found me near the entrance, dressed in a charcoal suit, calm as ever. "You look like victory," he said. "And you look like poetic justice," I replied. We clinked glasses. The night was ours. An hour in, the room buzzed with warmth and a touch of wicked anticipation. Laughter, camera flashes, the hum of whispered gossip. The charity auction was already surpassing expectations. People were having the time of their lives, and the story, the lesson, was writing itself. And then, like clockwork, the doors burst open. Ethan and Lena. They were dressed for the wedding that never happened. Ethan in a tuxedo, Lena in a silver gown, meant to outshine me. They were holding hands, united by panic and delusion. For a moment, the room went utterly still. Then, one of the security guards, a man so tall he could have been cast in a Marvel movie, stepped forward, clipboard in hand. "I'm sorry, sir," he said evenly. "Your names aren't on the list." "What the hell do you mean?" Ethan barked. "This is my event." "No, sir," the guard said, glancing down at the clipboard, taking his time. "This is a private charity gala hosted by Ms. Miller and Mr. Hale. You're not on the list." Lena's face flushed crimson. "This is harassment. That's my dress. This is supposed to be our wedding." Aaron and I exchanged a look from across the room. I took a slow sip of champagne. "There's the show," he murmured. Phones came out. Cameras clicked. Every whisper turned into a ripple of astonished laughter. Ethan tried to push past the guard, but two more stepped forward. "Sir," one said calmly, "you're disrupting a private event. Please step aside." Lena's voice cracked. You can't. "Oh, but we can," I said quietly, approaching them. The room parted like a tide as I walked closer. Ethan froze when he saw me. The tux, the desperate eyes, the disbelief. It would have been almost tragic if it weren't so predictable. "This is insane," he said. "You've lost your mind." "No," I said, smiling just enough to be polite. "I just finally found it." His voice dropped. "You're going to regret this." "I doubt it," I replied. "The proceeds go to charity. You should be proud. It's the most meaningful thing your name's ever been attached to." A few guests laughed softly, then covered their mouths. Ethan's jaw clenched. Lena grabbed his arm. "Ethan, let's go. They're filming this." He turned on her. "You think I care? She's making us look like exactly who you are," I finished for him. That broke him. He pointed at me, sputtering. "You'll regret this, Sophia. You'll—" The venue manager appeared, expression apologetic but firm. "Sir, I'm afraid I'll have to ask you both to leave." Ethan's face flushed deeper. "You can't throw me out of my own—" "It's not your event," the manager said, motioning to the guards. "Escort them out, please." As they were guided toward the exit, Lena's sobs echoed across the marble floor. She looked back one last time, eyes wet and mascara streaked. "You're cruel," she hissed. "No," I said softly. "I'm just done being your stage." The doors closed behind them with a satisfying, echoing thud. The applause started small. One clap, then another, then a wave of laughter and cheering that filled the room. Aaron raised his glass to me across the floor. I raised mine back. That night, the Trade Up Gala didn't just raise over $50,000 for charity. It raised something else too. Respect, peace, and the kind of closure no courtroom or apology could ever deliver. Guests danced, we toasted, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't performing for anyone. I was free. Later, standing outside under the cool night air, Aaron joined me at the balcony. "Do you think they'll ever understand?" I asked quietly. He looked out at the city. "Understanding's optional," he said. "Consequences aren't." I smiled. "To consequences, then." "To consequences," he echoed, tapping his glass against mine. The city lights flickered below us like stars pretending to be human. And somewhere out there, two people were realizing what it feels like to be left off the list, and none of them knew how close they were to the fall. It's been a year since the night everything came full circle, since the Trade Up Gala turned what was meant to be my humiliation into my liberation. People still talk about it sometimes. I still get tagged in random posts, think pieces about that viral breakup event. But for me, it isn't about the spectacle anymore. It's about the silence that followed, the peace that settled after the noise. I wake up now without checking my phone for a crisis that isn't mine. No half apologies, no damage control texts disguised as affection. Just quiet, coffee, light through the window. Freedom. Aaron and I stayed close, closer than I ever expected two strangers bound by betrayal could be. After the gala, opportunities seemed to find us. A local investor who attended that night offered to back our idea for a real estate partnership. Him with the design and build, me with the strategy and brand. We called it New Ground Developments. The name felt poetic. Every project we take on now, every crumbling house turned into something worth keeping, feels like a small act of reclamation. We built our first renovated duplex 6 months ago. It sold before we even finished staging it. Aaron laughed when the buyer said, "It just feels solid, you know?" He looked at me and whispered, "So do we." Ethan's life went the opposite way, quietly, steadily downhill. After the gala, he tried to sue me, claimed emotional distress, public defamation, half the wedding deposits. But the story of that dinner, his trade-up comment, witnessed by two couples and recorded in the restaurant's security audio, made its way to court. My lawyer played a short clip in the hearing. Ethan's voice, laughing, loud enough to make the judge raise an eyebrow. "If I ever meet Scarlett Johansson, I'd drop Sophia on the spot." The courtroom was silent after that. The judge leaned forward and said, "I think that settles the question of who dropped who." The case was dismissed within minutes. Legally, the engagement ring was ruled a conditional gift, dependent on the marriage taking place. Because Ethan had publicly broken that condition, I was entitled to keep it. I didn't. I donated it to a charity auction that raised enough money to fund mentorship programs for underprivileged girls in business. Felt fitting somehow. As for Lena, she tried to rebuild her influencer persona. New hair, new hashtags, the usual digital resurrection. But the internet never forgets, and neither does reputation. The video of her screaming in the lobby that night still circulates on Reddit, threads titled, "When Karma Shows Up in Heels." She lost most of her sponsorships within months. The last I heard, she moved back in with her parents and started working retail again, at the same boutique where Aaron first met her. Sometimes I wonder if she ever learned anything. Then I stop wondering. Some lessons only make sense when you're ready to admit the truth, and not everyone is built for honesty. Every November, the venue sends me an invitation, not out of obligation, but out of habit. "Will you be hosting another gala this year?" the manager asks, always half joking, half hopeful. Last week, I said yes. Not to gloat, not to repeat the past, but because the trade-up gala became something more than a revenge story. It became a cause, an annual charity event celebrating self-worth, partnership, and growth. Aaron and I co-hosted again. We renamed it slightly this time. The Renewal Gala. The tagline reads, "For everyone who learned that walking away isn't failure, it's freedom." The first year, it was about proving something. Now it's about giving something back. The night before this year's event, I sat at my desk and found the sticky note still on my fridge from a year ago. The edges had curled, the ink faded a little, but the words still felt true. I don't fund my own disrespect. I don't argue with stories told for an audience. I don't invite what I'm not willing to allow. I smiled, peeled it off, and slid it into my planner. A reminder, not a warning. My phone buzzed just then. A message from Aaron. "Aaron, rehearsal run-through done. Banner looks great. You good?" Me. "Always. Thanks for making this real." Aaron. "You did that yourself. I just built the walls around it." Me. "See you tomorrow." Aaron. "Wouldn't miss it." I set the phone down, turned off the lamp, and looked out at the city. The same skyline that once felt suffocating now glittered like possibility. It's strange how much lighter the world feels when you stop carrying people who don't want to walk beside you. I'm not the woman who swallowed humiliation at a dinner table anymore. I'm the woman who turned it into a cause, a business, and a life that fits. As I shut the window, I whispered to the reflection in the glass, a quiet promise more than a declaration. They wanted a trade-up. I just upgraded my life.